So, good evening, everyone. I'm Sanya, your moderator for this hour. On behalf of NPPA, I welcome you all to the keynote session on the emerging paradigm of positive psychology in the midst of existential crisis. The speaker for today's keynote is Professor Paul Wong, and this session will be chaired by Dr. Pulkit Khanna. Before we commence the talk, I would take this opportunity to welcome Professor Wong. He is a Professor Emeritus of Trent University and Trinity Western University. He is a Fellow of APA, APS, and CPA, and the founding president of the International Network on Personal Meaning and the Meaning Centered Counseling Institute. He is editor in chief of the International Journal of Existential Positive Psychology and consulting editor of Journal Humanistic Psychology. As a research psychologist, he is well known as a leading authority on Viktor Frankl and logotherapy. As a pioneer of positive psychology of suffering, he is responsible for a major paradigm shift from positive psychology to existential positive psychology of flourishing through suffering. He has published 8 books and more than 300 articles and book chapters. He is also shortlisted by the academicinfluence.com as one of the most noteworthy and influential psychologists, with a world rank of number 155. He has been invited to give keynotes, webinars, workshops, and lectures on all the 7 continents. His brand of integrative meaning therapy, IMT, aims to unlocking the transforming power of suffering. Rather than focusing on symptom reduction, IMT emphasizes that both healing and flourishing can be achieved by meeting the basic human need for meaning, relationships, and faith. Thank you, Professor Wong, for being a part of this NPPA conference. Moving forward,
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward to introduce our chair, Professor Dr. Pulkit Khanna. Dr. Pulkit Khanna serves as the Dean at the Jindal Institute of Behavioral Sciences, JIBS, at OP Jindal University. With a keen focus on shaping the Institute's vision, she plays a crucial role in devising and implementing strategic initiatives at JIBS. Dr. Khanna's responsibilities extend to overseeing the development of cutting-edge curricula, ensuring that JIBS remain at the forefront of advancements in behavioral science education, and translate research into impact-focused community outreach initiatives. As a leader in the field, Dr. Khanna is dedicated to pushing the boundaries of behavioral science research, contributing significantly to JIB's reputation as an institute of knowledge and innovation. Dr. Khanna also stands as one of the founding members of the National Positive Psychology Association and is an active executive committee member. Her research focuses on enhancing student well-being and investigating the indigenous practices that foster positive psychological constructs and nurture positive behavioral change. In addition to her responsibilities as Dean, Dr. Khanna holds a position of Professor of Psychology at the Institute. She earned her PhD in Psychology from the renowned Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Dr. Khanna's academic prowess is further augmented by her certification in positive psychology in research, education, and application in community health from the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. Thank you, Dr. Khanna. I now request you to take over.
Thank you, Sanya. Namaste, Professor Wong. It is an absolute pleasure, and I'm very humbled to actually be able to share this space with you. On behalf of the National Positive Psychology Association, I once again extend our gratitude. And perhaps words will not, suffice to let you know how wonderful it is for us as people who've really learned at early days of our career, reading about your vision of positive psychology, which was perhaps the first and pioneering voice, talking of a dialectical approach and very new ideas. I think it's only fitting that I speak very less and don't stand between you and the audience who's waiting to hear you. So just for the benefit of everybody tuned in, although Professor Wong will be with us throughout the session, he's shared a recorded lecture. I will request Sanya to play that recorded lecture, at the end of which we will invite any questions from our audience, which then we'll request Professor Wong to take up as we proceed for the day. Welcome once again, and over to you, Sanya, to please play the recorded lecture. Thank you.
Just confirming if my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
I'm happy to be able to speak to you at this conference. This is not my first time to speak to my friends in India. And today, my topic is on the essentials of existential parapsychology in times of suffering. Here's the overview. Just a few words about self-introduction. I was a war baby, grew up under Japanese occupation, so I've seen a lot of suffering. So as a child, I always want to think how I can reduce suffering like Buddha or Confucius. When I come to North America as an adult, the same idea remain, but I now also learn about Christianity, about Western philosophy, but my mission is still how I can bring meaning and hope to the suffering people. So that's why in the past 50 years, I'm a pioneer in the research on the positive psychology of suffering, also known as Existential PP or PP 2.0. The challenge I face is how can a little Asian guy challenge the powerful Western parapsychology? It's a hopeless task, but I still believe that if that is the will, there is a way. So I model after Bruce Lee. If I'm trying to learn the best from East and West and do not put myself in a pigeonhole, just learn from everybody, that may be how I can able to change and challenge the domination of Western parapsychology or American parapsychology. So the first thing I'll learn from everybody. The second thing is that I want to bring in my personal insight into this new paradigm. So it's a combination of the best I've learned from everybody and also my deepest insight from my experience, from my learning, from my research. So in that way, my approach will be broader, but also has a focus. If you ask me to say, what is external parapsychology? Well, parapsychology is based on some paradoxical truth. True positivity or true happiness come from embracing and overcoming suffering. You want to find out what life is all about, what the meaning of life. The meaning of life is not by what you gain, but by willing to lose yourself to find something greater than you and that's worth dying for. The third thing is that if you find the joy of gratitude, you cannot use this gratitude as a tool to make you happier. That is counterproductive. We show gratitude because we have a sense of humility, a sense of recognizing the origin from the Creator, all the blessings from the Creator, from all the help I get from my family and friends. So a sense of gratitude is recognize that I cannot be anything just by myself. That my existence, my happiness depend on others, depend on God, depend on spiritual power. So here's another way to describe existential parapsychology. So true possibility is being able to see the light in darkness. The meaning of life is so much bigger. Happiness is we able to embrace and transform the dark side. Sustainable growth comes from transcending obstacles and suffering. So another way to look at the existential parapsychology is synthesis. The negative psychology become parapsychology. That's a settlement here. Focus on what's good, what's right, parapsychology. But that is also a problem with the problem. Actually, the greater truth is to synthesize, become a greater truth, transcending the polarity and become a more holistic, more complete truth. So that looks like a sensible change because most of the truths are in the gray area, in this area. It's not either or, but both. So we cannot understand people, we cannot understand happiness. If we say focus on negative or positive, we need to holding both negative and positive in two hands and somehow combine them into a new whole. Here is a simple contrast between the American parapsychology and my integrated existential parapsychology. Now, when life is smooth, when everything goes well, it's relatively easier to be happy just to talk about positive emotion, engagement, positive engagement, active engagement, positive relationship, positive meaning, positive achievement. So still in the model of PERMA works reasonably well when life is smooth. But your fortune, your life could change in a split second. It can be natural disaster or COVID-19 or earthquake. When tragedy strikes, you cannot just tell people to be positive. That's an insult. But if you follow the new approach of existential parapsychology, you help people say, it's okay. Embrace the dark side. That's life. But try to find something positive in darkness. Want to see the light in darkness. Engagement through painful discipline. Yes, you got suffering. But don't give up on life. So that requires the discipline of acceptance, endurance, without it on. So part of relationship. Any married person can tell you, or any parent can tell you, part of relationship is not easy. It requires constant forgiveness, constant endurance of other people's shortcomings or silliness. Without endurance, without forgiveness, you cannot have positive relationship. Because the meaning is not just a matter of trying to make sense of the world, try to do something that you enjoy. You can't find meaning without your willingness to suffer and to struggle and to overcome obstacles and to transcend your egotistic concern. Similarly, accomplishment is not just painless. Any scientist can tell you no great achievement or accomplishment come easy. It comes through tears and blood. So you have to be willing to transcend lots of sacrifice, lots of failure before you finally experience satisfaction of success. So therefore, in a simple way, my focus on this dark area complement Silliman's focus on the bright area. Similarly with existential psychology, because I'm neither completely American psychology nor completely following the European existential psychology. So, for example, yellow will focus on the how to resolve the major existential concerns like fear of death, fear of freedom, fear of isolation, fear of meaninglessness. But by taking a integrative approach, my focus will become how I can overcome fear of death through religious faith or some transcendental faith. How I can replace worrying about making the wrong choice by switching to the courage to make the right decision after all the consideration. Everybody has this existential isolation or existential loneliness. Isolation is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, many problems occur because people can't stand being by themselves. But it's important for isolation because if we do not love ourselves, we don't know how to connect with other people, how to love other people. That's why the Bible says, love others as yourself. So healthy self-love is the foundation of loving and connecting with others. Same thing with meaninglessness. All people have dreams. So I think about a sense of meaninglessness is necessary. Whenever you are feeling sense of meaninglessness, that's a message for me that I'm on the wrong track. So I did a mirror test. Every morning he would stand in the mirror and say, mirror, mirror in the wall. If this is your last day of life, will you do the thing you're doing now? If you feel that what you're doing is meaningless, then you better change. So why do we need a paradigm change? I think that scientific progress is marked by paradigm shift because involving some kind of scientific revolution. Think about any society in the world, and real history. It's possible to have fundamental change in society without revolution. Could Mahatma Gandhi introduce democracy, secularism into India without leading a nonviolent revolution? Every revolution requires sacrifices. Similarly, in science, right now, parapsychology is dominated by Western ideas, by American ideas. So they are trying to colonize every country by training researchers in their way of thinking, whether it's in Moscow or in China or in Tokyo or India. Most of the parapsychologists are in the same mode as the American parapsychology. Even Canada, I can have difficulty develop a parapsychology that reflects Chinese indigenous psychology. It's a long story. need a party revolution because it requires fundamental changes in your orientation, fundamental changes in methodology, fundamental changes in how we understand the world, how we understand ourselves. So that's why existential parapsychology represents a paradigm change. Now here is something very, very powerful. A tiny shift in perception allows you to see something new, something miraculous. So we are willing to consider change of perception. Wow, the world looks differently. Here's the first thing the need to change that Jean-Paul Sartre saying that life began on the other side of despair. All the good things, it began on the other side of standard, adversity, and despair. And I think we need a new paradigm because we need to really consider our inherent human limitation. We invariably get into trouble if we do not recognize our limitation. We all have our limits. Here's a book about ecological concern. It's a book about the father writing to the children, the future children. Life as we know it might no longer exist. We need to start thinking what changes can we make in order to save our planet, in order to save humanity. Environmental crisis also tell us the mentality of continual growth, limitless, is eventually will destroy us. Another thing that the American parapsychology is not consider is that there are different kinds of happiness. There are different kinds of happiness for different seasons of life. So American focus on hedonic, mnemonic, but still refuse to pay attention to the other kind of happiness. So I have identified 4 types, okay? At least 4 types. Hedonic, mnemonic is before me, okay? I discovered this mature happiness. Mature happiness is spiritually based. That's why it can be also called noetic happiness. The last kind is something unbelievers would not understand. It's called chironic happiness. Chironic is based on the Greek word charisma, charismatic. It means a gift. I take this word from the Bible in Philippians. When Paul was a prisoner, tell people in his suffering, in his chain, he advised people, rejoice. Again, I say rejoice. And when Jesus teaching in his Sermon on the Mount, tell people, blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those persecuted. The blessing, the spiritual blessing from God is chironic, the gift. Many poor people who are disabled, who are poor, who are during wartime, you might not have able to enjoy the first 2 times, but you still can enjoy the second 2 times. Aristotle is the wise man from the West. Different people look for different kinds of happiness, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, Dalai Lama say, true happiness comes from inner peace, contentment. Okay, talk about mature happiness. Okay, all the human needs we talked about earlier. The mainstream parapsychology fail to address. So therefore, we need to start a partial revolution or paradigm change that involving 6 basic orientations for regeneration, and personal transformation. This basic orientation are fundamental changes. The remaining part of my talk will discuss the six kinds of fundamental change. The first is from the happiness hypothesis to the suffering hypothesis. We no longer consider, when you have complete change of mindset, that we should change the mindset about approaching happiness, avoiding pain. That work for the animals, maybe. But for human beings living in this digital world, the compact world, that logic no longer works. We can no longer consider pain or suffering is something to be avoided, okay? But rather, it's something we need to learn from. Suffering is our teacher, as Buddha said. And also, suffering is more than just physical suffering. There is a social, cultural suffering, psychological suffering, and spiritual existential suffering. Do you know, for most people, most of suffering do not come from physical suffering. It comes from social and cultural suffering. The corrupt and unethical government that can cause more harm to people than the gangsters. Okay? And then the psychological suffering of the inner demon. My hero Bruce Lee said that you cannot win any battle. You cannot slay the dragon, the demon within you. We all have a civil war within us. Finally, there are spiritual and existential suffering, about separation from God, lack of meaning and purpose in life, also our spiritual needs are not being met. So our soul is crying out for food, for spiritual food, spiritual drink. But most people are starving their soul, just focus on the flesh. So essential part of psychology say that, look, don't fool yourself that you will take out the body, take all your desire, you'll be fine. There's all kinds of suffering are hidden. We also need to change the way from binary thinking to dialectical thinking. Binary thinking is that either for me or against me. So now either black or white. We already discovered that most things are in a gray area. The truth is often somewhere in between. So we require a dialectical thinking. Yin-yang thinking means yin-yang is a circle, black and white. Within black and white, within the white and black. So yin-yang, you have to think about, you can have high yin and low yin, high yang or low yang. Think of that as two separate dimensions. In between space, they're very combination, high and high, high and low, low and high. So there are all kinds of combinations. You think about dialectical interaction. It's not the movement between two poles, but moving between two dimensions. There's a lot of space for you to find the right spot. But this is my model about natural happiness. You can say that it's mainly based on dialectical. Orientation from Eurocentric to multicultural and Eastward integration. Now, Gandhi is my hero. My hero. Because he inspired me. When change the world, be the change. Be the change. Change yourself. Regenerate, transform yourself. The best gift you can give to the world is change yourself to a better person. This world will remain the same. People who are in power cannot abuse their power. People continue to be selfish. People continue to cater to their flesh rather than spirit. People do not change. The world will not change. We cannot change other people, but we can change ourselves. If everyone change themselves, the family will be happier, the society will be better. So that's where to go. Change yourself in order to see the world change. And he also mentioned the fundamental truth of self-transcendence. You find yourself, how you find yourself, lose yourself. Lose yourself in serving others. It's a hidden statement. I'm having a silver copy. Hit it for the second day. If you want to implement change, okay, you produce a revolutionary idea. You'll be attacked, okay? Do you want to say, okay, I think. People will ignore you. They pretend they didn't hear you. And then they will laugh at you, they mock you. When you continue to speak, they mock you. People laugh at me and say, you try to make a virtue out of suffering. They mock me. That's the kind of work. Then they say, then they will attack you personally. They will spread rumors about you. They will think you're crazy. You're a danger to society. So people will spread rumors about me. And he said, here's the punchline. Finally, you win. They ignore you. They mock you, laugh at you, they attack you. But finally, you win. How do you win? You consider your idea as theirs. We don't give you a credit. Oh, everybody knows that. We all know that. It's nothing new. You're seeing nothing new. But it doesn't matter. You still win because finally, your dangerous ideas become accepted as normal, as a new normal, as the right idea. So in that case, you win because you want to change the world for better. You don't care about credit. So that's why people use my idea without giving me, they're saying my work or without any reference to me. That's fine. I'm glad that my idea is getting more acceptance. This is a great idea. That's fine. Yeah. We got learn from Gandhi. I still win. So my ideas are new normal now, right? More people talk, stuff industry, something may be good for us. Yeah. That's good. Here's another statement from a great yoga master. When you're inspired by some great purpose, and all your thoughts and bonds broken, your mind transcends your limitation, your consciousness expands. You find yourself in a great new world. Dominant focus, dormant forces and faculty become alive. So here again, talk about a reorientation from self-centeredness to an egoless self-transcendence. So it's a change from me to what's good for other people, what's good for the world, what's good for my family. So once you have this awakening, it's like you finally wake up from your bad dream. Realize that I've been wrong in the past. Now you see things differently. And the Bible says that you be in Christ, you are a new creature. It's a new creature. And each religion say the same thing. The world around you become different now. You find yourself living in a spiritual world. He understand from Buddha say the same thing. Buddha said all you need is your faith and belief. When you have faith and belief in God, in the Great Spirit, then all things are possible. That you use an ability trying to wake up other people. So Buddha says that the purpose of life is to awaken other people. So that the purpose of life is to awaken people from their sleep, from their self-centered existence, from no self, to egoless. I also need to reorient from the old language of maximize everything to a new language of balance. Wow, that's tough. I remember in the beginning, during the 60s, the language was changing from just he to he or she. That's a big battle. Right? But if we want to fundamental change, you really need to change the language. A few years, about 20 years ago, I invited Gandhi's grandson, Ron Gandhi, to my conference to speak. I invited him because he emphasized the need to develop a non-violent, nonviolent communication. If you want to make the world more peaceful, we want to use a peaceful language. So that's a good starting point. That is right. So, like his grandfather, he's also very charismatic and but he said, we'll change from a language level. Even in language, you pay attention, there are all kinds of called a microaggression. The way people talk nowadays, if the language they use often full of hate and full of pride and full of greed, full of violence, there are all kinds of microaggression going on in language. There's a new language about peace, about balance, about optimal fitness, maximum happiness, maximum strength, maximum wealth, maximum development, maximization eventually will destroy the planet. You could ask me what the origin of evil, the origin of suffering. I'll say the devil became devil because he went to be that God. Human being, Adam and Eve, would be a smart God. When people want to be like God, want to play God, that is where our trouble began. The new language is a language of humility, of recognize that we are finite. We're finite beings. We're fragile and finite and limited. We need a language about humility, a language of nonviolence, a language of optimal fitness. Those talk about Bruce Lee also talk about be like water. Water is the optimal adaptation. And water will fit in anywhere. So useful for performing its function. Nonviolent way of performing its function. So we need to start talking differently. Instead of adversary language, you are wrong. The whole psychology is based on the adversary model. This was that. In old days, talk about reinforcement versus continuity. One-step learning versus incremental learning. Parapsychology versus negative psychology. All the adversary model is utter silliness. Could make good or evil, or both. So billions of dollars of money in grant money are wasted in psychology based on the adversary model to prove you're right, I'm wrong. It's a waste of money. Nature, nurture, or both. All the debates, all the adversary approach is simply a waste of money and a waste of time. A better way is to based on developing a new language of coexistence. Finally, orientation for immediate outcome, but on process. Most of the parapsychology paper research is based on self-report. how do you feel now? We sort of report on the present condition, a snap in time. But the new orientation is based on a process, long-term process and long-term consequence. How you affect your future. Yeah, make you feel good now. But how about tomorrow? How about next year? How about when you're getting old? So Carl Jung talk about the problem of suffering. We have to focus on the process of learning how to endure, how to accept. The discipline of endurance is a process. Learn to endure more and more. I train animals and train children, train people to endure suffering through incremental learning, learn to endure more and more. To weight training, also gradually increase your weight. So incremental learning, incremental training. There's discipline of endurance. Your long-term consequence. The process may be painful. Okay? Also find your true self. Another important contribution from Carl Jung is that Kierkegaard said the same thing. You got to know your true self. In psychology test, exercise, yeah. What's your best self? Write down. That you cannot discover your best self just by write down what's your best self. Your best self may be your part of illusion, maybe a self-deception. To know your true self is very difficult. We have so many defense mechanisms, so many facades, so many self-illusions. So we often do not see the dark side of evil twin. Our true self is both divine and evil. We're made in God's image, but after the fall of grace, we also have this evil within us. What do we call that? We call it inner demon, our dark shadow. We all have a dark side which one other people know. So that takes a long time of shadow work to discover your shadow. Faith is also a process. We know that the world is scarier than you think when earlier, right? Evil forces are more dangerous because they're invisible, they're everywhere. They may come in tie and suit, right? The only power that's capable of overcoming all the forces, the power of God, the Almighty God, Creator. If we create everything, He alone has the power to overcome evil forces. So faith is the means, the tool to access God's power. Faith need to cultivate. Well, a lot of new research findings. I don't have time to talk about that. One area is how to develop social and personal responsibility. Another area is how to develop trusting optimism. How to have hope in hopeless situation. So I don't no time to describe to you now, but you can read up my writing. My conclusion is that the new mindset for regeneration and transformation, it requires inner change. And in order to discover existential well-being and the true joy.
It was a wonderful lecture. Thank you for that, Professor Wong. We now open it up to the audience for questions. Professor Wong, if you allow, may I read out an audience question to you?
Yes.
Somebody. So one of our attendees, Jagjit Kaur, would want to know what kind of minute actions can make our urban lifestyle meaningful? How do you add meaning to our fast-paced urban lives?
I missed the middle part. How to make what?
How to add meaning to busy urban lifestyle.
Urban lifestyle.
Urban
how can
lifestyle.
Okay. So in urban lifestyle, there's lots of busyness and lots of demands on our life. So we talk about retreat our inner sanctuary. We have to learn how to not to be rushed, because if we are rushing without thinking, without living intentionally, often we become a robot or become a part of the machinery. So we just have to intentionally find a quiet spot, withdraw to your own room, calm down, and try to slow down, deep breath, and smell the coffee, and look up at the sky, and look at the beauty of the sky, the beauty of the tree. We need to discover intentionally, discover mindfully all the beauty and goodness and meaning around us, rather than rushing through life, rushing from here to there, from there to there, without any reflection and thinking. Being mindful of the present is very important. So that doesn't matter how busy life is, you are mindful of the present. You really have an eye open to appreciate the wonderful world, the wonderful people around us. Then you live differently. Would that answer your question?
Most certainly. And I think that's a very good reminder for all of us. On a Friday evening in India, I think we could all do with that reminder. So thank you for sharing all of those tips. I must also tell you, Professor Wong, that we have many messages in the chat window, and the attendees, the audience are expressing their gratitude. They thank you for a wonderful lecture. Since we have a few minutes, I will take one more quick question. Somebody wants to know that what is your take on a parent-child relationship, especially when the child becomes an adult who may have their own, take on various things. So how do you deal with the power struggle between an adult child and a parent?
Professor Pulkit, there is one more. Maybe you can take it later about the Shreya Bakshi has asked one. That is also a very interesting question. So see if we can take those.
I'm not sure whose voice that was, but thank you for guiding me to that. We'll just come back to that question. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. So the question is that how can a parent relate to the children?
It talks about the parent-child relationship when the child is no longer really a young child, but an adult with a mind of their own. How do you deal with the power struggle?
Okay. So here's the thing to remember. Parents are stewards. We're given the privilege, we're given the responsibility to raise a child. Oh, that's an awful responsibility. But a child is not your property. A child is an individual with their own character, their own temperament, their own dreams. So what time has changed. In the old days, the parents will make the children obey them, blind obedience. They had to marry the person, arrange marriage, right? The parents arrange everything. The child had to marry the person arranged by the parents. There's no such thing as free love. You're not free to love anyone, right? Your parents arrange everything, but that's not the best way because you should also respect the children are grown up now, they have their own ideas. So the authoritarian approach of parenting is not very good. But now in North America, it's the opposite now. In North America, the children are in the driver's seat. They call a shot. Many parents worship their children. They do everything to make the children happy. They don't teach them boundaries. They don't teach them the basic rule that you have to respect other people's dignity, not just get what you want. If you don't get what you want, you're through a temper tantrum. The parents have the ability to model and teach children how to be decent human beings, how to treat people with dignity, with respect, with kindness. You can teach children that only by being such a person yourself. Thank God my two children both turned out to be decent human beings. I think I'm trying to set an example to them, how I treat people and how I raise people. Now you tell children, don't lie, don't be violent, but you yourself lie all the time. You yourself are very violent with other people. So that kind of teaching will not work. So the modeling is very important. And also set basic rules. Basic moral rules like the golden rule. The many basic rules. Don't do things to other people you don't want other people to do to you. Don't harm people if you don't want other people to harm you. Don't bully other people if you don't want other people to bully you. So the basic rules are causing no harm of doing good to other people. All people need to learn the rules. Without boundary, as I mentioned earlier in my lecture, without boundary, people go crazy. Imagine you can allow to do anything you want, you're giving them a role long enough to hang themselves. So we're not helping our children if we allow them to do anything that they want. What is that? No, you can't do that. But that will hurt you. Trust me. We're going to do that. I'm sharing my experience with you. Confucius says that the three ways of learning. One is through reflection. You're self-examine. The other one is learn from other people's experience. The worst way to learn is through the bitter experience. If you have to try yourself to look at fire, play fire, get burned, well, that's a very painful way to learn. Teach children that think about things, okay, and learn from white people who know more than you, who have gone through life, who have experienced all kinds of things. So learn from the experienced people, learn from wise people, rather than learn it yourself. The alternative is very painful. Okay, another question?
Thank you for that. If I may be allowed just one final question from Shreya Bakshi. If we must shift from a binary to dialectic approach, as you mentioned in your lecture, shouldn't we quit the pursuit of uncovering the true self?
If you take a binary or adversary approach that prevent you from knowing truth, that's why many people, many philosophers and psychologists say that a greater intelligence is able to hold two different ideas, two different beliefs, two different facts simultaneously and consider, compare, contrast, and learn what's right, what's wrong. Maybe 70% right from this part and 30% right from this part. So tell them that whether you're in business, investment, in any career, people are neither completely evil or completely sane. Very seldom is not completely good or completely bad. People are mixed bag, good and bad. Most things in life are good and bad. At work, there isn't a perfect job. You have to take the bad with the good. You marry someone, you have to accept both their positive points and their weaknesses. You have this mentality that either this or that will be frustrated, will be unhappy, and will be angry most of the time. Because the world, the nature, is made up of polarity, both good and bad. So we have to look at both things about how can I make a bad situation good? Or what's not good, you say, well, be careful, there must be some hidden danger. So by using this mentality of this dialectic, you have a better sense of reality. Then your feet are placed on the ground and your eyes are look at the sky, look at ideal. So that's the only way we can be realistic and also idealistic at the same time.
Very wise words. Thank you. And I'm sure, we would love to ask you more questions, but thank you for patiently taking them. And thank you, Jagjit, Shreya Bakshi, and Naman Jain. We hope we could address your queries. Professor Wong, once again, a big thank you. And I do, of course, see our next invited guest, Mr. Habib, waiting. So without much ado, I'll hand it back to our moderator, Sanya.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you much for your attention. Bye.
Thank you, Professor Wong and Professor Khanna. This has been an extremely meaningful session, and we are grateful to Professor Wong for enlightening us. I'm sure all attendees have had significant takeaways. Thank you again, Professor Wong, Professor Khanna, and all the attendees. We are now heading to the last keynote session of day 1 of the second International Conference of NPPA. I request Purnima to take over from here.